Happy Self-Love Sunday. I am Moe Sass, your host of Self-Love Sundays with Sass. I am your certified vision and empowerment extreme execution coach who comes every single Sunday so we can talk about all the ways in which we can better our best. And one of the ways in which we can better our best is, of course, purchasing my new book, Finding Your Way, 7 Ways to Love and Heal Yourself. I always leave the link at the bottom of the video, and you can also find it on Amazon as well. But listen, let's get into it, because the last time I was here, what we talked about was, I was giving you the key takeaways from, the UOU summit with E.T., the hip hop preacher, Dr. Eric Thomas for some. I was giving you some of the key takeaways from there. And I want to continue on with that because it was just such a powerful summit and I gained so much from it. And I know a lot of times you guys may come and listen to me and say, well, what does this have to do with self-love? Because I entitled this Self-Love Sundays with Sass. And I say that we come every single Sunday so we can talk about all the ways in which we can better our best. And the way I look at self-love is loving yourself enough to learn something new, loving yourself enough to work on your mindset, loving yourself enough to work on anything that's holding you back from being the best you can possibly be. So self-love, in a sense, what I'm talking about here is the personal development and growth of you. You have to love yourself enough to put yourself in those environments. You have to love yourself enough to say, hey, listen, I need to grow. I need to transform my life in certain ways. There are some things about us, of course, that we should not change, but there are a lot of things about us, especially if there are things that's holding us back from the life that we say that we want, that we absolutely should work on to grow ourselves, to have the things that we desire. Because I do believe every single time that I say it is that we are the CEO of our lives. We can do or have anything we want, but we have to love ourselves enough to do it. Okay. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there because I know sometimes when people think of self-love, they're like, oh, what kind of care am I going to do? What spa am I going to go to? And all of that's great. That's more self-care to me. But when I think about loving myself, I think about growing myself. I think about transforming and transmuting negative energy into positive energy. I think about all the ways in which I can grow my abundance of love and joy and peace, as well as financial. Okay. Cause let me tell you something. Don't come up here and thinking I'm not about the munties. Okay. Yes. All of that is encompassing, but that takes a mindset shift, and you have to love yourself enough to even say, you know what? I am aware that there are some things about me that are not helping me be the best me that I can possibly be. So I love myself enough to come listen to different podcasts or go to different environments so that you can grow you, because that's a lot of the things that I did, including getting myself around certain communities of people. And what I always say is developing a winning system around me, a winning system that's going to help me to be the best me. And my winning system consists of therapists, coaches, mentors, different people in the community, but people that are like-minded. Not that we believe the same and we are the same, but like-minded in the fact that we want to grow to be the best person we could possibly be, not just to serve and to live a purpose-driven life, but so that when I leave here, for me, I can say job well done, because I did everything in my power that I could to grow myself and everyone who's around me. So I just wanted to throw that out there, but let's get into this summit, okay? Because E.T. said, the reason you can't stick to a routine is because you care more about immediate gratification than success. I had to take a beat on that because it is so true. I had to learn this the hard way. I learned this with my physical fitness. When I first was looking to lose weight many years ago, after I gave birth to my last son, I remember getting so frustrated and wanting to quit because I'm like, I want to lose 40 pounds in 2 months. I want it off right now. And that level of frustration because I wasn't seeing the results that I wanted to see and or be where I wanted to be really quick, not realizing that that's not realistic, A, and B, it's not healthy. I've been in the fitness industry for years. I taught fitness for 10 years. And the one thing I do know is that there are very unhealthy practices out there, and you can do a lot of unhealthy things. I'm not saying that you can't. I'm just saying that, There are smarter, healthier ways to do things. But, and I'm going to tell you like this, and it takes time. If it took you, a year to 2 years to pack on the weight, okay, you're going to have to take the year or two to get it off. It just is what it is, especially depending upon your age and what's happening with your body. And I'm always very transparent when I come here and talk to you guys. I'll let you know, like, listen, I'm going through menopause right now. So my body is doing a whole bunch of new things that I didn't even know it could do. We're not gonna get into that, not gonna go down that rabbit hole, but I'm just saying that, instant gratification actually delays your success. If you just took your time and walked it out, because here it leads to the second thing. He said overnight success takes 10 years. But if you're looking for, I need the money now, I need, I need the man now, or I need the woman now, or I need my children to do this now, and I need to, like, that's going to kill your mindset. It takes time. Now, I am also a believer. So I do believe that, all things are possible to him who believe. And with that being said, with the belief, you have to understand that there's steps and there's levels to it. And you have to take your time. If you want to grow yourself to be a 6-figure, 7-figure, entrepreneur or self-employed person, because that's two different things. And I was actually looking that up too, about what's the difference, right? So someone who is self-employed literally is a person who essentially works for themselves, right? You're doing the same thing as if you were working on a job. You're just doing it for yourself by yourself. Someone who runs a business actually employs people and they're able to duplicate themselves, right? It's two different things. And I'm very transparent. I'm actually self-employed. I actually am doing two things. I actually work. I have a career that I currently do, call it a 9 to 5, as well as I'm self-employed because I run my own coaching business. Okay. So the thing about experiencing that level of success to where you're saying, okay, I wanted to be a 6-figure, 7-figure self-employed person or entrepreneur or whatever, earn 6-7 figures, even on the job that you hold, maybe in your 9 to 5, it takes time. Number one, you need to map out a plan. First of all, you have to know what you want. Okay. You have to be, and I call them SMART goals, right? You have to be very specific. What do you want? SMART goals, specific. You have to be able to measure it, right? Is it attainable? It may not be attainable if you're only making $10,000 a year in your business to go to $1 million in a year. I don't know. I can't tell you. I'm not in your industry. I'm just saying, what's attainable for you? I don't know that, right? What's realistic? What is really realistic? And I'm going to equate this to weight. It's not realistic to lose 50 pounds in a month. It's not. We put these pressures on ourselves. And I'm talking to you from a place of, I've done this, not from a place of theory. Okay. And then put a time on it, time bound. What is that timetable, right? To get you to different phases, either in your career or in your business, or even with yourself as being a self-employed person. So if we're looking for it has to be done right now and everything has to be now, you are really going to find yourself burnt out. Really map out a plan. I'm not saying to you, I want everyone to hear this. I'm not saying to you that anything is impossible. I'm saying to you, have a plan and map it out, and don't just look for immediate gratification. Even if you received, say, immediate abundance, look to how you can use that abundance to how much are you going to put back into the business? How much, profit, right? How much are you putting aside for taxes? All of those things are important. So when we're talking about building a successful model, really build it out. Don't look for something to change tomorrow. Even when we talk about transformation, renewance of the mind, right? Mindset work. All of that takes time. It took me some time. It took me a good 3 to 4 years to really hone in on the mindset that I have. It took me a while to get to the healing. And this is such an important conversation to have, and I talked about it a little bit last week, so I'm not going to dwell on it, where we have these people who are just experiencing the most traumatic events of their life, and then they'll say, oh, I'm healed. And for those of you who don't know, you can go back and look at my video where I talked about Danae Jackson. And again, I want to preface with this: I'm not going to pretend like I know someone personally. That's not it. But there are some things as coaches that we can draw from to help people understand some things. If you have just come out of the most traumatic relationship of your life, and you have not even had a divorce yet, don't know what that's going to look like, don't know what you're going to feel like, we have to be careful with throwing around that, oh, we're healed, and then say, I'm going to set up a coaching business to help you get healed. I'm going to tell each and every person this, okay? You will know when you have healed from a relationship when you get in your next relationship. It's just the truth. You can take time for yourself. You can set new core values and principles around the people you want, the person that you want to be with. All of those things is true. But then you have to put it into practice. You have to put it into practice with yourself. You have to put it into practice with your friends. You have to put it into practice with that new partner. That's when you'll know you're healed. And then that's when you can coach people through their healing. If you're still going through it, you can't. I've been a coach since 2014, and I've never coached someone through something that I haven't gone through. It's not really healthy to do so, because then you're talking from a place of theory and not something that you've done. And so I just think that, well, that was an important point that I really wanted to make, because I just see people throw around the word heal so easily. And it's like, well, how do you know? What was the test that showed you that I'm really healed? Right. So just wanted to share that with you. But getting back to the immediate gratification in this world is killing people. We know they're watching social media and watching people come up and, have these tremendous things. And instead of just clapping and being happy for the person in their season, we're judging ourselves and holding ourselves to these ridiculous standards. That's not our season. Everyone has a season, and I know I've done it too. I'm like, man, I've done all this work. Like, why am I not the one that has the millions in the account? I've done it too. And I had to take a step back and say, you know what? What's for me is going to be for me. And these are the steps that I need to continue to take, and stop comparing. That's the work that I had to do, but that's mindset. So again, tying it to self-love, I had to love myself enough to renew my mind and to stop comparing myself to someone else's season. And the reason why I stopped comparing myself to someone else's season is because I didn't want to, when you think about comparing yourself to other people, I didn't want what they had, because I didn't know what it took for them to get that, right? So what do I mean by that? What it took for me was, I buried 2 sons. I've lost my aunt, who was like a sister to me. I've been divorced. I have gone through so many mistakes as a mother. I have gone through the trauma of being touched at 13. All of those things, along with other things, shaped who I am today. It has shaped my level of success. So knowing that, I said, I don't want somebody else's success. When I see millionaires, I'm like, nope, I don't want theirs. I want what's for me. That's so important, because I don't know what it took for them to get there. I don't know what they said yes to. I don't know who they said yes to. You guys have to be careful in that. Sometimes we look across and they think money is the answer. Well, if money was the answer, then these people who have so much money wouldn't be committing suicide. What I asked God for was the capacity to handle what was coming my way, and to enjoy it with a level of peace. That's what I asked for in it. I didn't just desire the abundance, because there are certain things that I'm going to do with the abundance, but I desire peace in it. I desire joy in it, because I see so many people, and I know them personally. I'm not talking about stars that you guys see. I know a lot of people with a lot of money who is very unhappy, very unhappy. And that made me say to myself, I desire an abundance of love and joy and peace in it all as I bear my fruits. I think that is so important. Wanted to share that because I feel like whoever's listening to this, you needed to hear that. Okay. So the next thing we want to get into is we were talking about the overnight success, and we were talking about like sticking to immediate gratification. And the next thing he said is your dreams will become a reality when you are decisive. I was like, man, your dreams will become a reality when you are decisive, because so many people procrastinate. It's like they're him and hawing. It's like, listen, make a decision. The decision can't be right or wrong. It's just a decision. I said what I said. It's not right or wrong. It's a decision. And you'll either learn from it or grow from it, but it's not failure and it's not wrong. We are so stuck in this society of right and wrong. It's growth. You cannot understand how something is going to work or if it's going to work if you never try. If you always think, well, what if it doesn't work out? Well, guess what? Whether it works out or not, you learned. You learn. You know what's so funny? I was listening to a gentleman. His name is Reverend Ike, and he said the conditions in your life are a direct result of your conditioning. I was like, man, and it ties into ET so well because we are conditioned from youth to think in lack. We're conditioned to think in fear. We're conditioned to think that we can't be, do, or have anything we want. We're conditioned to, the slave mentality. We're conditioned to all of these worldly things that are just happening around us. And it's like negativity every day. It's a conditioning. And all of that, to me, those negative entities, I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. So I condition my mind by listening to different YouTube things. I condition my mind by the books that I read. I condition my mind by the environments that I place myself in. It becomes so important because there's so much negativity in this world. It's so much. You turn on social media, man, I'm telling you, everything you eat, think, walk, talk, you're dying tomorrow. Everybody's like, it's literally, we're consumed with it. And if you don't have the understanding, the wisdom, and the knowledge to back away from that stuff and say, no, I can condition my mind to think differently, to be differently, to move differently, to talk differently, you're going to succumb to that negative energy. You're going to succumb to that negative environment. I'm watching people online argue back and forth about men and women. I've never seen men and women in the social media space become so divided than I have today. Oh, black women this and black men that and white men this and white women that. And I'm just like, really? This is where we are. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't have conversations. And if the conversations are not yielding solutions, and we're just stuck on this never-ending wheel of they are the problem, we're not getting anywhere. And let me tell you something. There is always going to be a personality that is not in alignment with you. Well, why are you study discussing that personality instead of saying, these are my core values. These are the principles of my life, and aligning yourself with the people who line up with that. You guys are steady arguing about people who, if I hear you correctly, are not in alignment with you. We're talking about people, passport bros and people who go overseas. What all that translates to me is these people are not in alignment with the people that you want to be in your life. So why are you even discussing them? Why does that have to be wrong for them? Let them do what they want to do. Who cares? And granted, I hear you. This is what I hear when they say, well, black women, they're this and they're that, and they're doing this because of black women. Let me tell you something that I've learned. This is wisdom. People never, there are particular people, not all people, because this is a general, who do not want to take accountability for their lives. They rather blame everybody. They blame the black woman. They blame the single mother. They blame the locked up father. They blame the absentee dad. People blame everything for everyone, everything that's ever happened in their lives. Now, let me tell you this, because I always give this disclaimer. Anything that happened to you as a child was not your fault. It really isn't. It was not your fault. The way you were raised, the environment you were in, you had no control, essentially, over it. So you may have been conditioned to feel and think different things. However, as an adult, it is your responsibility to get the healing that you need, to love yourself enough to know and to go discover what the real truth is. The thing is, are you willing to take accountability for your life in that way and stop blaming everybody? The Black woman is not your problem. The Black man is not your problem. The government is not your problem. The white man or the white woman is not your problem. They're not. The way you think, the way you move, and the way you're acting is the problem. And I'm not saying there isn't problems in the world. I'm asking you, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to continue to tear and knock all that stuff down and stay below the belt, or rise above it and say, you know what? I can change. Hear me. I can change the way I think and feel in my environment and everybody that I touch around me. We can grow and do this thing differently. Or am I going to sit over here and the same with the 98% of society and just tear people down all day and tell them all the wrong things? Let me tell you something. You're not changing their minds by doing that. You're not changing the way they think by doing that. The one thing I knew that was the truth when I did Codependency Anonymous. Yeah, it's such a thing, right? As that real talk is that people have to be willing to change. They have to want it. They have to want it for themselves. You can't make them. And no matter what you say, and no matter how much you get on the internet and tear them down, doesn't change anything. What are you going to do with your life? I can't change the way another Black man chooses to see me. I can't change the way another white man chooses to see me, or a white woman, or a police officer, any of that. What I can do is change the way I see me. I can grow me. I can love myself enough to rise above the noise and be the best me I can possibly be. And in that, do some changing of myself that helps me change my environment, that eventually trickles down and changes other things. I'm not telling you guys to bury your head in the sand. I'm not saying that things should not be changed. 2023, and I'm not saying that it doesn't feel like things are going backwards, but you can't go backwards with it. We have to move forward. And it starts with loving you. I really believe that if half these people that said all these things on the internet love themselves, I promise you they wouldn't even be speaking the things that they're speaking. And it's funny that their voices are so loud and they're drowning out the voices like mine. They're drowning out there's plenty of voices that I hear in the communities that I'm around that are not talking like this. They drown out the voices of the E.T. Eric, the hip hop preachers. They drown out those voices, and theirs become so louder because people are so drawn to negativity and so drawn to lack and don't even know it. And please believe me when I tell you, I understand that it's an unconscious thing. It's about how we were raised. It's very unconscious. We're not conscious of it sometimes. And before you know it, it's such a slippery slope. We're down in the minutia with everyone else. I'm saying to you, turn on 5 different voices. It don't even have to be mine. Go find 5 new voices in your life that's going to bring you an abundance of joy and love and success and growth and beauty. And stop listening and arguing with one another over stuff that really at the end of the day just don't matter. It doesn't matter. When my son was murdered, I realized so many things didn't matter. In that moment, nothing mattered. All that stuff that they're spewing around, and it just didn't matter. What matters the most is being the best you could be every day. Having compassion and empathy and love and boundaries and self-love and self-respect. And putting out in this world what you desire to get back. You can't put out negativity and hate and lies and expect to get back love, peace, and joy. It don't add up, boo-boo. That's not alignment, okay? So kind of want to get back on track because I was here to talk about what ET what I learned in the UOU summit. And this kind of happens every week. I bear with me. You know, if you've been here, if you've been rocking with me for a minute, you know this is how this goes with me. Okay. I go off, I come back. So number one, the first thing I said was the reason you can't stick to a routine is because you care more about immediate gratification. Number two, overnight success takes 10 years. Number three, your dreams will become a reality when you are decisive. And I also gave you something from Reverend Ike, which said the conditions in your life are a direct result of your conditioning. And I'm just going to tell you, that was such an awakening for me. And the other thing is for my spiritual community, you know what ET said? He said, demand clarity from God. Because a lot of times we're not clear. And we can be demanding of God. And so I was like, man, I really had to sit and, get with myself on that because that was hard for me. I'm like, be demanding of God. Like, who do I think I am? Right. And God told me who I was. And I'm not here to tell you who your God is. I'm just telling you, demand clarity. Demand clarity. And ask for the capacity for the things that you desire. And ask for the help you desire. Someone said something very interesting to me because, I'm very open about the fact that I go to therapy. I think every doctor, I know every doctor has a doctor. You can't perform surgery on yourself. Why? Because most times when we're in the picture frame, we can't see the outside. And my friend said to me when we were at breakfast, he said, you're the type of person that knows your problem and knows your answer. So why do you go to therapy? I said, because what the therapist does for me is, although I'm very solution focused, I'm big picture. I'm vision. That's why I'm a vision coach. I'm big picture. I can see the future, but I need someone who can help me break it down and go step by step. Right? I need someone to slow me down because I'm all in. I'm all or nothing. I'm like big like that. And so my personality is big like that. So what she helps me do, she helps me bring it back. She helps me take it step by step. She helps me to sometimes be in the moment of things because I'm always growing and learning and I literally am I learn something new every day. That's a thing that I've always had. And as I'm navigating this newness of my body, this newness of my spirit, this newness of my hormones and everything that's happening with me, I realize that I'm not the same person I used to be. So she helps me to see the new pieces of the puzzle and how they can fit in my life. Because if you've never gone through something, you don't know the answer to it. I've never gone through menopause before, and I'm not ashamed or afraid to say to anybody, I don't really know how to navigate through that. I know how to navigate through divorce. I've been divorced before. I know how to navigate through grief because I've buried 2 sons, right? I know how to go through certain things that I've been through. But if I've never been through a thing before, I can't expect myself to know the answer. I need you to hear me when I say that because many of you are down yourself and upset with yourself over something you didn't know. Well, how can you do something about something you didn't even know? But the thing is, do you want to know? So that's why I go get a coach and that's why I go get a therapist. I want to know. I want to know the things that I'm not seeing. I want to know my blind spots. I want to know how I can be better. I want to know how I can walk this thing out. I want to know how I can be a better mother. I want to know how I can be a better lover. I want to know how I can be the best wife I can possibly be when I get married again. I want to know how to navigate great friendships. I want to know how to build great relationships with people. I want to know how to build partnerships. I want to know how to love my children through each season of their lives. I want to know that. So I'm not afraid to go get the help that I need to get that. And I'm here to tell you, I don't care who you are. You cannot do that by yourself. You can't. I don't care how much money you have. Because here's the one thing that I do know about the people who have money. Okay. They don't do it alone. The people who don't have the money, who live in that lack mentality, they're the ones who think they can do it by themselves. Yeah, they can get themselves to a certain point, but then they get stuck. And it's like, ooh, I can't move now. Yeah, because the next level requires a next level of people. It requires a next level of help. And it requires you to invest in yourself. And most people don't want to invest in themselves because they always thinking that something is the scam. Well, maybe your mindset is the scam. I said what I said because everybody out here isn't scamming. Now there are some that are. I'm not saying there isn't, because there always are good and bad in the world. That's why I said to you, you have to get a list of core values and principles. And then when you go to look to work with somebody, are they in alignment with that? Most people are people pleasers, so they say yes when they really mean no, and they end up in environments and working with people that are not in alignment with them. How do you know if they're in alignment? Have conversation. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to have hot conversation, honest, open, and transparent. That's how you know. And you don't have to just jump into anything. Just like you should be interviewing your doctors, you should be interviewing your therapists, you should be interviewing your coaches. Are they in alignment? Have they produced what you want? You have to know that, but you have to want it. You have to want it. If you want better, you can have it. But there are some things you cannot do alone. Most things you can't do alone. So ask yourself, is the scam your mindset? I don't know. You have to answer that for yourself. What are you willing to invest in yourself? And that's the biggest form of self-love. My God. I wish people knew that. To invest in your spirituality, to invest in your knowledge, to invest in a level of understanding. It takes, man, I'm telling you, invest in listen, even if you say, okay, well, I don't know, you don't want to trust in a coach right now, invest in some books. Invest in, go read. We're writing the books. Why are we writing the books? Because we understand that there is a community of people that think everybody's out to scam them and everybody's out to get something from them. Meanwhile, don't even realize that when you invest in yourself, you're not even investing in me. You're not even investing in therapists. You're investing in yourself. But they don't get it. And that's okay, because that takes time. It takes a mindset shift. So go purchase the books. We write it because we understand it. Why do I understand that? Because it used to be me. I used to be scared. It's like, man, what? Pay $10,000 to do what? Because I thought, my ego thought I could do it alone. But my ego was keeping me broke. My ego kept me in lack. My ego kept me in wrong relationship. My ego had me in self-sabotage some of the best relationships. But again, do I look at that as failure? No, I learned. Hello, somebody. I learned. I didn't know what I didn't know. So I'm not beating myself up over it. I'm growing from it. Thank you for the lesson. Now I can go on, and I can't live in regret. No, you just get to move forward. Because the enemy of the mind wants you to live in regret, wants you to live in sorrow. Learn and move forward. If you can make amends for something you did, make amends and move forward. If you are living and have the ability to forgive the other person and yourself, do it. Do it. It makes a world of a difference. I can't tell you how much my life has been different since forgiving my mom, forgiving my father. And I'm not saying it is easy, y'all. This is the problem. Everybody wants everything to be easy. Well, if it would be easy, everybody would do it. It's not easy. I'm just telling you, it can be done. It can be done. You have to be willing. You have to love yourself enough. I'm going to say it over and over again. Love yourself enough to want to do it, though. And then go do it. Make the decision. Like you said, your dreams will become a reality when you are decisive. Make the decision. What are you hemming and hawing about? Make the decision to take yourself to the next level and stop worrying about what people think or say. What does it matter? I could promise you, man, I'm in this new form of life. I don't give a darn skippy what nobody thinks about what I come here and tell you guys, the things that I walk through in my life. You know who I care about? My kids. I care about them watching me become the best version of me so they know what they're capable of. They may not all be doing what I want them to do, but I'm watching them do the things that as a result of the things that I've done, right? And so that showed me if I just keep growing, if I keep going, they will too. And they'll know to never give up. And they'll know that it's okay to go get help. And they'll know that it's okay to develop a winning system of therapists and coaches and doctors, even down to my doctors. That's my winning system. I go get my breast checked. I go get, checked for ovarian and cervical cancer. I go check my cholesterol, my A1C to make sure, for diabetes. That's a winning system. Because if you're not healthy, it doesn't even matter. So I do everything that I do because I've always desired to be their role model. I never wanted someone outside of my home to be the role model for my children. And if you ask me, I will tell you every day, no, I never got it perfect. I got a lot of things wrong, but guess what? I learned. And the best apology, please don't ever come to me and tell me you're sorry if you're not willing to change your behavior. The worst thing that you can do for your children is to tell them that you're sorry and do the same thing to them over and over again. The worst thing you can do for your partner is tell them you're sorry and go in and do the same thing over and over again. The worst thing you can do for your friendships is to say you're sorry and do the same thing over and over again. The worst thing you can do for your business is to say you're sorry and do it over and over again. That means you didn't learn anything. That means you have learned that listen. It means your conditioning was to say that I'm sorry and never put any action behind anything. It is not the knowledge. It's not the knowledge. It's the action and the execution that makes you successful. I know some of the smartest people in the world that should not be living the way that they're living. However, and they are, because they refuse to take action, accountability, and execution. They refuse to take action, accountability, and execution. They refuse to take action, accountability, and execution. So if you ever wonder why things are the way they are, you lack action, accountability, and execution. I said what I said. You don't have a winning system. Who are your doctors? Who are your coaches? Who are your mentors? And they don't have to be people that you pay all the time. I told you, listen, if you go back and watch some of my videos on YouTube, these are free videos that I was watching. These are free things that I watched until I was able to afford to start investing in myself. And I started low end. The first investment was my books. I would buy literally until I learned about the library. It sounds crazy to say I learned about it that way, but my girlfriend sparked something in me. She was like, go to the library. You don't have to always buy the books unless you know you're going to keep them. So that's what I started doing. I just started investing in it. I started investing in Audible. So in the car, instead of listening to certain music, I started listening to Audible books. I wanted to retrain my mind. And when God talks about the renewance of the mind, that's exactly what that is. You're conditioning. How are you conditioned to think? How are you conditioned to walk? How are you conditioned to talk? That's all conditioning. So I'm saying to you today, you have an opportunity after listening to this to make a very different decision. You get to make a different decision. You don't need to do anything. When people come to me and say, well, I need to. No, you don't. Everything you say you want is yours. So however you frame it, if you say, I am never going to have no money, I believe you. That's the type of coach that I am. I believe everything you say. So if that's what you say, then that's what she'll be. Everything I speak may not be physically in my hand right now, and I know it's coming. So I speak it as if it were. I'm not going to lie to y'all and say that sometimes when it doesn't come as quickly as I want, we talk about that instant gratification, that I'm not frustrated or I don't get upset. I don't go through, hard times mentally. Man, I'm telling you, these past few weeks have been testing me. I go through it. And when I'm on that trajectory of that slippery slope that I talked to you guys about earlier, that's when my winning system kicks in. That's when I'm like, okay, it's time to call the therapist. Okay, it's time to talk to, actually, I'm looking for a new coach. It's time to talk to my coach. It's time to listen to a different meditation. It's time for me to take time out and do some deep breathing. It's time to check my hormonal levels. It's time for me to get with my winning system. What is yours? And why does someone have to convince you to love yourself enough to have one? That's a question. That's a question. Why would somebody have to convince you to love yourself enough to invest in yourself, to get the knowledge that's out there for everyone? We're not in the civil rights era or before, you got to think about how our parents were. They didn't have access to nearly a third of what we do. And you want to act like you can be, do, or have whatever you want? Do you know that there's free books on YouTube right now? Are you kidding me? The one thing that no one can take away from you is your knowledge. Learn. Take accountability for your life. Get into action and execute, and nobody can stop you. Develop the winning system. Start to write them down. If these people are not in your life right now, I want you to write what that looks like for you. What are the core values of the people that you want around you? If you're in a friendship group and nobody has any money, you're in the wrong group. I said what I said. If that's what you desire. If you're in a group, around a group of people that's not bearing any fruit, that says something. And then I want you to ask yourself, why? And please don't give me anything about loyalty. Because if you're not loyal to yourself, you'll be loyal to no one. If you don't love yourself, you ain't really loving these people. You're not really loyal to them. You are doing everything you can for somebody to love you more than you love yourself. I said what I said. Ask me how I know. It used to be me. I showed up. Oh my God, I was always a friend that show up. I'm going to be there. I'm there. I got you. Why? Because I was looking for somebody to fill that hole and that void in me that nobody could fill but me. That's why when I got in the room, I felt empty. And I felt like, man, I was in a room full of people and still felt alone. I was in the wrong room. I wasn't being challenged. I wasn't being pushed. I was status quo. When I got in the room with people who knew more than me, you want to talk about a shock to the system? I'm like, oh my God. Was it scary? Hell yeah. Was it challenging? Hell yeah. But did it make me rise to the occasion? Hell yeah. Is my life a better result? Is better as a result of it? Hell yeah. That's why I'm able to talk to you. That's why I'm able to be in the communities and leading in the way that I'm leading. That's why I'm able to be the best coach. I said what I said. And that's not an ego thing. I love myself enough to say who I really am and not be afraid of what anybody thinks. And I'm not saying that I'm the best coach because that's what I told myself, but that's because of what they told me and the way I saw that their lives are shifting, the way that they told me that their lives are shift. I'm not afraid to say that anymore because people believe, especially from my community, if you say that, you think you're somebody you're not. Oh, you need to be humble, very humble. And I also know that I'm great at what I do. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And I love myself enough to love that about me. To love that God trusted me. He trusts me with his people and trusts me to lead those that he sits before me. Because I don't work with just anybody. And it's a beautiful thing. And I want you to do that too. Stop letting people convince you that you're to be so humble that you're to shrink back because they're afraid of your bigness. I wanted to give that to you today. So I am going to end this here. I love you. I hope you have the most amazing, amazing week. And I will talk to you next Sunday. If you need to reach out, info@moesass.com. Feel free to email me, www.moesass.com. If you know you want to book with me, you can always send and just ask a question. Leave a comment. You like what I said? Don't like what I said? Hey, let me know. Subscribe. Share it with a friend. Why? Because I do believe it takes a village. Each one, teach one. If you're growing and you're not helping pull somebody else up with you, that could be another thing that's holding back your abundance. All right, y'all. Have a great Sunday.